I didn't see you there. My name's Brady Rion, and welcome to Masterpiece Theater. Today, we will be reading the heartwarming tale, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville did not.
Do I really have to do this, Stromberg?
Yes,
I'm not even green.
no you're not. Here, let's see if this helps. How's that?
Better.
Okay.
The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy right now hanging a mistletoe wreath. Then he growled with his fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early and rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, noise, noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and the Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what to do.
The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick!
With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer.
The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said,
If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
So he called his dog Max, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, Get up! And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were dreaming sweet dreams without care.
This is stop number 1.
The old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in a fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he said, are the first thing to go.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus, you're as charming as a Neil, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel. You're a monster, Mr. Grinch. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You've got garlic in your soul, Mr. Grinch. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot long pole. You're a vile one, Mr. Grinch. You have termites in your smile. You have all the tender sweetness of a seasick crocodile, Mr. Grinch. Given the choice between the two of you, I'd take the seasick crocodile.
And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. She stared at the Grinch and said,
"Why, Santa Claus? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?"
Hey, my sweet little tot. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back.
And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. And the one speck of food that was left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it.
Pooh to the Who's.
He was grinchily humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will cry boo-hoo. That's a noise,
grinned the Grinch,
that I simply must hear.
and the Grinch put his hand close to his ear.
And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. Maybe Christmas,
He thought.
doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast.
Come on!
Go.
Yeah.